magic. So I'm super excited to share this with you guys because it's going to give you even more insight into your brain and the different things that impact it. And you're also going to experience an activity. So I want you to either print out the PDF so you have it on hand and or grab your journals. So first, we're going to chat about some highlights. We're going to also highlight some history from your past, what happened, what meaning you assigned it to, releasing it, and then reframing your thought process into victory. Because the more that we focus on that things happen for us, or how can it relate, or how can it serve, this keeps us from operating or falling into negative states. So I want to chat about some facts about our brains. And this was gained from Be Brain Fit, from Lumosity, several different sources. Your brain is 73% water. It takes only 2% dehydration to affect attention, memory, and other skills. So this should highlight for you guys that our brains are extremely sensitive to forgetting to drink water, to any kind of food or high sodium that drains our hydration, to alcohol. And this is one of the reasons why I decided over 4 years ago to stop drinking. That plus the fact that I knew being a coach and being a transformation coach and a lifestyle entrepreneur, I was serving as a role model as well as an example. Plus the fact that when I started learning more and more about brain chemistry and that only 2% affects my attention, my memory, my cognition, and whatnot, I thought, oh no, there's no way I'm going to sacrifice my full potential. So this is a personal decision on what you choose to do or choose not to do, but these are the facts. And all you have to do is experience one hangover to know that it can go on for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days, setting you backward. 90 minutes of sweating can temporarily shrink the brain more than 1 year of aging does. So even though exercise has a lot of positive aspects, make sure you stay hydrated. No one knows for sure, but the latest estimate is that our brains contain over 86 billion brain cells. So I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Lucy, but some of the factors and the things that are in there, just the things that happen and the power and the potential in our minds is absolutely incredible. Each neuron can transmit over 1,000 nerve impulses per second and may make as many as tens of thousands of synaptic contacts with other neurons. And you guys, this is happening subconsciously without us even knowing or being aware of anything. We're a freaking walking, amazing supercomputer. Brain information travels up to an impressive 268 miles per hour. So we're like a freaking jumbo jet. This is faster than a Formula One race car, which tops out at 240 miles per hour. There's a reason that our brain has been called a random thought generator. The average brain is believed to generate up to 50,000 thoughts per day. So imagine if you're not focusing and you're not directing and you're not managing those thoughts, that they're going haywire, literally. Chronic stress and depression are rampant in modern life. Either can cause measurable brain shrinkage, which is why, you guys, the setup of this academy has been focused on jumpstarting you to build your confidence in health, money, and business, then into unleashing your inspiration, giving you vision, giving you possibility, giving you limitlessness, then helping you get insight into clarity, fears, brain behaviors, and then now setting you up with time to transform and into this first activity to really get you to focus on different things that you can always return to as you start to expand in social media, as you start to expand in your money making, as you start to expand and elevate in your boss brand building, inspiring with influence, scaling smart, because the more you grow, new challenges are going to present themselves with people, with your mental state, with spirituality, with your energy, all kinds of stuff. So this is intentionally designed for you to always return and think about what habits are you continuing to practice, what self-care habits, what communication, where are you possibly getting frustrated. All these things are going to be talked about throughout this module. The modern diet is low in omega-3 essential fatty acids, and low levels can result in brain shrinkage equivalent to 2 years of structural brain aging. Back in 2013, I started regularly taking omega-3s as part of my heart health and brain health with Herbalife, the #1 global nutritional brand. So you can also, if you don't have omega-3s in your program, I would highly recommend you add omega-3s and a multivitamin at the minimal. And as a participant, there are options for you to get 25 to 42% off as well. Technology has forced most of us to be prodigious multitaskers, but your brain cannot learn or concentrate on two things at once. What it can do is toggle back and forth between tasks, but doing so decreases your attention span, your ability to learn, your short-term memory, and overall mental performance. So this is giving you guys even more evidence for being present. Because imagine if I'm filming this video, or when I talk to you guys face to face, if I'm doing 3 different things at once. Well, you're going to be able to hear in my voice, or you're going to be able to see, okay, she's clearly distracted, or she's clearly doing something else, or someone just entered in, her office, or they're talking to her, or just whatever. So you're going to feel that, and you're going to see that. And when we do that, and we try to tell ourselves that we can multitask, we lose momentum, we lose focus, we lose energy. So focus on an activity, set an intention for that activity before you do it, 3 key words, then release that activity to transition. Get up, think about it, then think about your next activity and the intention and the feeling that you want to focus on that. Attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. In 2000, the average attention span was 12 seconds. Now it's 8 seconds. So you can see how even in how I approach learning, I give you guys visuals, then I have you do an activity, then I ask you a question, then I share a story. And that's extremely intentional because I know that your attention span is only going to stay with me a certain amount of time. So jot down where you know that sometimes you lose attention or get frustrated. Relying on GPS destroys our sense of direction, and it's also helping or hurting our neural connections fading away via a process known as synaptic pruning. So basically, certain synapses are dying. So one of the ways that I combat this, you guys, is I'll purposely walk different places or take the train so that I know I'm super mindful of my surroundings, or I'll use basically my sense of direction, especially in cities that I know. Until recently, it was a fact that you were born with a set level of intelligence, but it's been since discovered that your brain has the capacity to change throughout your lifetime due to brain plasticity and can continue to form new brain cells via a process known as neurogenesis. So you guys, this is constant stimulation with new things that we learn, clarity that we create, a new language that you learn, a new skill that you learn, new technology that you learn, a new connection that you form, a new relationship that you form. So thinking about consistently how you're stimulating your mind to grow. There are almost 200 known cognitive distortions that cause us to think and act irrationally. So basically knowing, once again, subconsciousness, energy, what's being discovered about our brain is still an ongoing mystery. And the more you know yourself and the more awake and aware you are, and the more you question why you do things, the more you're going to get results and be successful. And with that being said, 95% of our decisions take place in our subconscious mind. And the brain in our head, if you didn't know this, it's not our only brain. There's a second brain in our intestine that contains 100 million neurons. That's why it's known to say our first wealth is our health. And what we literally put in our bodies is affecting us on so many different levels. Gut bacteria are responsible for making over 30 neurotransmitters, including the happy molecule serotonin. So literally the foods that you put in your body have the power to make you happy. Speaking of also gut bacteria, I also use a bacteria and a probiotic also through Herbalife daily. Of the 1,000 thoughts of a person has per day. So we talked about this earlier. I said 50,000 thoughts per day. The average person walking around, 70% of the mental chatter is negative. It's subconscious, it's negative, it's completely unaware, it's self-critical, it's pessimistic and fearful. And the more you subscribe to the news, the more you subscribe to self-criticism, the more you subscribe to gossip, the more you subscribe to something is impossible, the more this is going on in your own mind. So the faster you catch different thoughts that are even remotely negative, remotely below a hopeful state, the faster you're going to get results, because more and more you're operating in a state of high vibe. So first question with that in mind, and again, grab your piece of paper or grab the PDF to jot down notes. And I want you to pause and take the time that you need throughout this activity, because this is what you make it. This is the more you dig, this is the more that you consistently revisit. And you guys, you're going to find different layers upon layers. We're like onions. So think about what comes up for you first is the right answer. There's no right or wrong answer. Some of you will go deeper. Some of you will go to 1 to 2 things, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. So what happened in your childhood that had a negative connotation for you? What happened in your teen years? What happened in the last 15 years? What are you still hurt or angry about? If you're still holding on to something from the past, with a situation, with a person, with an experience that you're still hurt or angry about. So you've heard me talk about this example. So what happened in my teen years, I went through an abusive relationship. You guys, I held on to that and some of the things that happened throughout that for over 10 to 13 years. There was layers of releasing that. So imagine until I fully released every single aspect and would talk about it openly. There was a period of 3 years where I didn't talk about it at all. Imagine what that did to the negative thought processes and the worthiness and the self-condemnation and the judgments that I held against myself. That's just one example. The past, when we allow it, can have power over us in a negative sense. Or it can have power over us in a positive sense when we think about happy memories and how they also impact us from a positive sense. So I definitely want you to take this activity for the way that you want. You can reinforce your confidence with focusing on positive memories and positive history, but I don't want you to avoid addressing at least one that you still view as negative. Because that's paramount to creating clarity. That's paramount to creating freedom. And then again, hit pause if you need to take more time on this activity. Now let's think about the meanings. What meanings did you give that hurt you? Did you tell yourself you weren't worthy? Did you tell yourself you deserved it? Did you tell yourself that you caused it and that you weren't going to ever get better with a relationship, with health, with money, with business, with friends, whatever it was? And a good indicator of this is look around in your life. Look around what's happening in your life with relationships, with friendships, with health, with money, with business. Are they consistently all progressing? With family? What meanings did you give that cause fear? So what is anything in your life that you will not do because of fear? Some great examples of this is leaving your city, leaving your state, going on a plane ride. So for me, you guys, I was on 10 plane rides by the time I was 3 years old. So for me, for the longest time, I could not understand why others had a fear of flying. But that's because I was raised in a family that are extremely high risk takers. And for me, those were my normal things. So you could look at this from two angles. One, things that you won't do because of fear, and what could you do to overcome that fear? Even if it's a baby step, every step counts. And or what's something that's really easy for you, but maybe you've been frustrated or maybe you've judged others because you didn't understand that, wait a minute, they don't have my life or they didn't have my experiences. How can I show them more compassion and grace? What meanings did you give that you don't forgive or that you haven't forgiven, whether it's others specifically, others as a group, or yourself, which is often the hardest person for us to forgive? And then what meaning no longer serves you and it's time to release? So again, go ahead and hit pause and take the time that you need. Victory. What hurt or anger are you ready to release? Peace is priceless. And when you start to recognize and realize any hurt, any anger, any frustration, anything that is low vibe is hurting you from joy, it's hurting you from bliss, it's hurting you from peace, you begin to recognize that nothing and no one is worth impacting that peace that is priceless. So how could you release it? Thinking about I ams, thinking about meditation, journaling, prayer, tapping, energy, Reiki. Release frees you and it releases the consequences of any perceived wrongdoing. And remembering, you guys, that hurt people. And it releases all of that to a higher power. And you're surrendering it outside of you, and it no longer has power over you. It's no longer your God. It's no longer holding you captive. And you're one step closer to complete and utter freedom. So hit pause as you journal or if you need more time with this. So reframe. How could you reframe any story that you've been telling yourself? And this is going to be super powerful, you guys, when I start talking about videos and video scripts and sharing your story. How could you reframe what you've overcome from a victim or a hurt to a victor? How could you empower yourself to create a new story and rewrite that story? And then if you were talking to yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whenever that happened, I'm not dismissing. I know horrible things happen to all of us or have happened, whether it's molestation, whether it's abuse, whether it's someone dying, whether someone got killed, in your family, in your life, a friend. I mean, horrible, horrible things go on. But what I am saying is that you are alive today. You overcame it. And if it's still buried and you still haven't released it, isn't it time to let it go, to set yourself completely and utterly free? And isn't it time to empower yourself, to be proud of yourself on how you overcame it? And isn't it time that maybe just maybe you start sharing that story from a place of empowerment to inspire others, which is exactly what our world needs to create the world that we want to see because of what you've overcome. And more than likely, others that follow you or others that are around you may be struggling or have struggled or are still holding on to that very thing, and that you could serve to inspire them, which is priceless, to hold that kind of freedom for yourself and to create the space to inspire others to reach for freedom as well. So hit pause as you ponder and think about this as well. So here's a chart, you guys, that I created for Mental Magic that I want you guys to print out. And anytime you're feeling like, something's off, or you're reliving something from your past, or something's happening in your present that maybe you need to take it back because it's actually correlated to a completely different experience in your history, and you can journal and think about the meaning that you're assigning it or how you're taking things personal. So if you haven't read the book, The 4 Agreements, one of the agreements is don't take things personal, because realizing that all of us are operating from a filter of different things that have gone on, and 99% of what people do has nothing to do with us. So what meaning are you assigning it and making yourself a victim or making yourself hurt? How can you release it and reframe it and approach the situation with compassion? Or think about how you contributed to possibly the negative state or the negative energy, or how you could elevate the energy and do your part. And how can you reframe the thought to victory? So I've given you 2 additional pages here to print, post up on your wall, make it a weekly, monthly activity, however you want to take this. But I would encourage you to make it a consistent mental process. I do things like this every single week. And in Momentum Maker and in Crazy Confidence, you'll be sitting with me one-on-one